Let us take a look at the concepts behind Minto's principle. It is motivated somewhat by science, but even more so by common sense, which is why it is so easy to accept its truth and consequences. Let's begin with a simple observation. The attention of an audience is easily distracted. Nothing distracts as much as not feeling seen or heard. Wandering attention begins with an unconscious feeling of disrespect on the part of the speaker or writer. There are, of course, many sources of possible disrespect, but there is one that is equally destructive to all people, namely when the arguments brought forth seem to not be grouped logically. For example, if something that must follow is left out, or if something follows that cannot possibly follow. Whenever this happens, the attention of the listener or the reader must wander, with more or less irritation. Put differently, human audiences crave and require logical groupings. Perhaps this sounds a little alchemical to you or abstract, but in fact it's very simple, as Minto found out. First of all, major, more abstract ideas should be placed before minor, supporting ideas. Why is that so? Truth be told, I don't know. What I do know is that if someone presents me with a bunch of facts or ideas, I feel cheated or at least in limbo until he has presented a principle or an idea that justifies the previous ideas to be mentioned together. Notice that this is quite different from casual conversations or chit-chat. When two friends meet in the street, each of them will flood the other with information seemingly in random order. But this is not the situation we are trying to optimize. When a consultant presents his findings, or when I open a non-fiction book, or when you read a scientific paper, you expect order in the sense that the chapter headlines are generalizations of the subchapters, and the subchapter headlines generalizations of the material contained in them. If at any point you would encounter a major idea in the middle of a bunch of minor ideas, you would be stumped and distracted. Now, like all the rules to follow, you are perfectly free to violate it at any time, but, and that is the law, never without paying a price. In teaching, or when embarking on a course of creative discussion or discourse, this price is not a sacrifice, but it is the goal itself. Then you are not presenting your results like a consultant or a scholar. It follows that not all written material, fiction or non-fiction, and not all presentations must be built according to the Minto principle. But if you want maximum rapport and attention, then you had better follow the principle. Another thing that audiences crave is that similar ideas should be grouped together. To continue our example of the chapter of the book sections contain material that is related to one another. Half the work of any decent writer is to bring the material in such an order as to help the reader find his way through the thoughts, the sentences, and pages. The same holds for a presenter. If one side of a pack of slides introduces the topic, the following slides had better be about that topic. Anything else will be punished by the audience with the withdrawal of attention or protest. And lastly, if I want to improve even more on my presentation, I will help the reader or the listener by assembling the material in such a way as to show any possibly existing relationship between the different items. For example, in a history book about the Crusades, the obvious ordering of chapters is to position the first before the second and the second before the third crusade, and so on. History is itself time-ordered. Hence, historical arguments or facts can usually be time-ordered as well. Any other order would cause confusion. It would distract the reader.